Okay, here's our first mixture problem, and I've already drawn in the table that you'll want to use. Remember that we want to fill in these columns. This first column is usually, the things you're trying to mix together, and we know it's a mixture. And the second column is going to be your quantity, or, how much do you have? Your strength, or what's it worth, or what's its value, goes in this third column. And in the last column is going to be the total. And we use this last column to actually write the equation. So let's fill in the information as we read through the problem. Let's see, I have a 20% solution, and I have a 50% solution. And the mixture always has to go at the bottom, and notice the mixture is 40% solution. Okay, so how many liters of 20%? Well, that's going to be our variable. That's what we're trying to find. So that's going to be x. And 20% is going to be the decimal 0.20. And you multiply across here to get the total. So 0.20 times x is 0.20x. Okay, 50%. Well, the nurse has 10 liters of 50%. So we're going to put 10 liters here. 50% is 0.50. Multiply across, you get 10 times 0.50, which is 5. And then finally the mixture. Well, you add these up here because the mixture is when you're combining the 20% and the 50%. Well, since they're not like terms, the mixture is just going to be x plus 10. The strength of the mixture is 0.40. And then we multiply across, which in this case would be distributive property, which you would get 0.40x plus 4. Okay, so now how do you get your equation? Well, you get your equation from the last column. It's the two things you're mixing added together equals the mixture. So my equation to solve is 0.20x plus 5 equals 0.40x plus 4. And if you don't want to deal with the decimals, remember you can multiply through by, in this case, either 10 or 100, because the second number in the decimal is a 0. You don't really need to multiply by 100. You can just multiply by 10. So multiplying by 10 here will give us 2x plus 50 equals 4x plus 40. And now that's just a simple equation that we solved back in an earlier problem. Bring variables to the left by subtracting 4x. That's going to give you negative 2x plus 50 equals 40. Bring numbers to the right by subtracting 50. So you get negative 2x equals negative 10. Divide by a negative 2, and we knew that our answer had to come out positive, so luckily it did. Negative 10 divided by negative 2 is 5. Now remember, with word problems, you always want to make sure that you go back and answer the question. And the question said, how many liters of 20% solution? Well, since x represented what we were trying to find, the answer here is that you need 5 liters of 20% solution to mix with the 10 liters of 50% that you already have, so that you get a 40% solution. Okay, here's another mixture problem of sorts. What we're doing now is mixing money. We've got two different types of bills. We have a $10 bill and we have $20 bills. And it says that there are 6 times as many $10 bills as $20 bills. So if we say that X is $20 bills, how many we have, then 6 times as many would be 6 times X. Okay, well, the $10 bills are worth $10 and the $20 bills are worth $20. Multiply across, 6x times 10 is 60x. X times 20 is 20x. And how much money do we have? Well, we don't really have a mixture here, but what we do have is the total amount of money, which is 1,760. And remember, all we need is the values to be filled up for all three in the last column. So it's always going to be the two things we're mixing added together equals the total. So our equation is going to be 60x plus 20x equals 1,760. Combine your like terms here. Divide. And x is going to be 22. Remember to go back and answer the question. The question said find the number of each type of bill. Well, x stood for, we should not really use x there, we just cross out there. X stands for how many $20 bills so we have. So we have 22 $20 bills. Okay, and $10 bills, well, how many do we have there? Well, we have 6 times as many. So 6 times 22 is 132. So there's 132 $10 bills. Okay? So we've gone back and answered each of the questions. Okay, here's yet another type of mixture we can have, and notice they all follow the same general format. This time we're mixing two different kinds of investments. Kevin invested part of his $10,000 bonus in a CD, certificate of deposit, that's one investment, that pays 6%, that's how much it's worth, 0.06, annual simple interest. And the remainder in a mutual fund, I'll call that MF, mutual fund, fund, and that pays 11%, which is 0.11. So the question is, how much did Kevin invest in each one? Well, he knows that the total amount he had to invest, here this is the total amount he has to invest is $10,000. Okay, so and his total interest earned here was $900. This is interest. Remember the simple interest formula is principal, that's how much, rate, that's what it's worth, and the time, since we're all dealing with 1 year, is T, which we don't have in our chart. So how much does he have? Well, we'll say X is the amount for CDs, and that makes 10,000 minus X the amount for the mutual fund. Okay, because this was the total amount. If you take out how much he invested in the CDs, that leaves you 10,000 minus X. So once again, multiply across. Here you're going to be using the distributive property, which is going to give you 0.11. Oh no, hang on a minute, I got to erase that, sorry. Here you're going to get 1100 minus 0.11x when you distribute. So here's your equation, 0.06x plus this amount equals the total interest earned, which was $900. So we have 0.06x plus 1100 minus 0.11x equals 900. And now if you'd like, you can go ahead and multiply through by 100 because we do have two numbers after the decimal place. So that would make that 6x plus and 11x, and okay, so that's getting rid of the decimals. Collect your like terms. And what we're going to do here is subtract the 110,000, and you get negative 5x equals negative 20,000. And of course we'll divide by negative 5 and get x is positive 4,000. Always go back and answer the question. So the question here is going to be that the CDs, he invested $4,000 in the CDs because that was X, and then 10,000 minus 4,000 would be the mutual funds. That would be $6,000.